Everyone, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a nice, healthy business agenda today, but before we get to that, we have 3 different presentations. But before we get to that, I have a number of announcements that I wanted to make. First, it's with great sadness that we share the news of the passing of Juanita Ortiz. Juanita was a former district employee and a wife to Juan Ortiz, who was a security guard for the district at James Cade Administrative Offices. Juanita began her career in South Huntington in 1995 and retired from the district in 2018. She worked in student services for the majority of her time in South Huntington. In this role, she touched the lives of many families. Apart from her clerical responsibilities, one would often find Juanita giving advice to new arrivals to this country and district, offering assistance to families having difficulty accessing support, and sometimes just be a willing ear to listen. It is her kindness to her colleagues and community that we will remember and miss dearly. The family will be holding a celebration of life in honor of Juanita on Friday, September 30th at 7 p.m. at the Smithtown Gospel Tabernacle Church. Should you wish to send any condolences, please reach out to Ms. Caliendo for the address. Please keep her husband and children in your thoughts during this difficult time. We had some additional sad news as well. It's with a heavy heart that we share the news of the passing of Kelly Whelan's husband, Jack Whelan. Kelly currently works at Silaswood for the district, and Jack was a graduate of Walton High School. Our thoughts and our prayers are with Kelly and their 4 children, Marissa, Brianna, Sabrina, and Jack Jr. Services were held earlier this week, and should you wish to send your condolences, please reach out to Ms. Caliendo for the address. And finally, I would like to share some thoughts and some prayers for the people of Florida. They're under an incredibly powerful hurricane, Hurricane Ian, as we speak. The pictures out of Florida are already devastating, and the destruction is going to be too great to bear. So I ask for a moment of silence in honor of Juanita Ortiz, Jack Whelan, and the people of Florida. Thank you. All right, we have a presentation tonight for 3 outstanding young women. This is Girl Scout Troop 954, and we are going to be presenting their silver award to them. We are speaking about Julia Fasciano, Tatiana Marr, and Taylor Bush. The girls joined Troop 954 in 2013, shortly after starting kindergarten. Juliana, Tatiana, and Taylor are now freshmen at Walton High School, hard to believe. To earn their bronze award, they started a food drive called Scratch Out Hunger, I remember that, to collect non-perishable food items for our school community. They then proposed a community garden at Gloria Dei Lutheran Church. The space has been used as a playground, but closed during the pandemic in the spring of 2021. The project became known as Seeds of Hope Community Garden and has earned the girls their silver award as well as the Presidential Gold Volunteer Service Award. So I would like to hear from each of these fantastic young women who want to say a few words to us. So first, we'll call to the podium Julia Fasciano. Oh, okay. Who do you have first? That's not my script, but we'll go by yours. Okay. Okay.
Some students rely on the school lunch program, so we wanted to help fill pantry shelves during the summer months. Our focus continued on food insecurity in our community as an idea for our Silver Award project. How about providing access to fresh veggies and herbs through a community garden?
We needed to find a suitable location and found one in close proximity to a food pantry. Gloria Dei Preschool closed due to pandemic in spring 2021, and the playground was no longer being used. We thought this would be a great location for our project. It was presented to Gloria Day Church Council. They were very excited with the idea. It was approved by Girl Scouts of Suffolk County in December of 2021 with the project aptly named Seeds of Hope Community Garden.
To raise awareness of our project, we held a seed drive to help get our garden started. Response was overwhelming. In early spring, our National Junior Honor Society classmates volunteered to help clean up the project site. We hosted a car wash fundraiser at Stimson to raise the necessary funds for our project. Over the summer, we were able to build 2 large raised beds and transplant our seedlings. Today, Seeds of Hope Garden is thriving with cucumbers, oregano, parsley, peppers, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, and zucchini, plus sunflowers.
Outstanding. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We have some work in the district too, if you'd like.
Sure.
So I have proclamations for each of the 3 of you, and then we'll take a picture with the Board of Education, and then there'll be a additional special proclamation coming your way. So, Julia, congratulations. Tatiana, Taylor, congratulations. And each of the young ladies has a certificate from the South Huntington School District, a certificate of achievement, as well as their Presidential Volunteer Service Award, and a 3rd certificate, the Certificate of Recognition from Girl Scouts of Suffolk County. So congratulations to each of them. We have the board join us for a picture. All right, girls, we ask you to stay where you are because there's one more surprise presentation for you. I'd like to introduce somebody you're pretty familiar with, former Superintendent of Schools, now Councilman Dr. Dave Bernardo, to say a few words.
Before I present on behalf of the town board, thank you to the best board of Alana for having me back to the best school district. I want to thank the best people. Try to thank you for having me tonight. I know that your agenda was filled, and it means a lot. To all of you, I love to miss you, and think of that all the time. You know, it's funny, in our time together here, Alan and I were all, we talked about service. I was chatting with the other town board members who bring their greetings today, and we said that service seems to have died. And leadership seems to have died, like it's kind of gone away. And 3 people like you bring service back. Bring leadership back. Bring hope back. So on behalf of the town board, just on behalf of 220,000 residents in the town, I didn't contact every single one, but I wrote my out to make sure that they appreciate what we've done. Please know that we appreciate what we've done. Your heads stand above the rest. Thank you for that. God bless you.
Can I get a picture?
Tomorrow we get the weekly wrap-up call on this.
They're a lot shorter these days, aren't they, Randy?
A little bit. I think they want the long ones back, don't they?
Thank you, girls. Congratulations. We're so proud of you. We look forward to continuing the great work that you're going to do at the high school. We know you're going to be outstanding students and also outstanding leaders. Thank you to Dr. Bernardo for taking time out of his busy day. It's not the only school district in the town of Huntington, though, as he is correct, it is the best one by far. But he does have to give attention to those other 6 as well. But we're happy for him to join us. So thank you. Congratulations, girls, and best of luck. Part of what makes our community so special is not only our wonderful students, but also our businesses and our volunteers and our not-for-profits. And we're very fortunate to be helped by a lot of those partners that make our community so strong. And over the years, we receive a lot of donations, and this year was no different. And at the start of the school year, we often receive a lot of donations for school supplies. Those came this year from Orange Theory of Melville, who graciously donated backpacks, pencils, notebooks, binders, and more to help our students get the year started on the right track, and we'll be sending them a certificate of recognition. Also, Mr. and Mrs. Friedman, community members who made numerous school supply donations to Oakwood Primary Center this summer in honor of their daughter Samantha. Samantha was a teacher who loved her students and a class of 2009 graduate of Auburn High School. Each year, the Friedman family collects school supplies and donates them to our youngest learners, and we thank them for this beautiful donation in Samantha's memory. And we'll be sending a certificate to them as well. And somebody who is present is Reverend Saba of the Unity Church of Huntington. And for the past 12 years, the Unity Church has been very gracious to us and has donated backpacks full of different supplies, pencils, erasers, notebooks, and other essentials for students in need of our basic school supplies. Our district is very fortunate to have such a generous community member contributing their time and resources to our students year after year. So thank you so much to Reverend Saba and his congregation from the Unity Church of Huntington for continued generosity for the 12th consecutive year, and we look forward to a 13th year of donation as well. No pressure. Thank you, Reverend Saba. I don't know if you would like to say anything, but we have a certificate of appreciation from the Board of Education for you as well.
You have to ask a minister if he wants to say something. Well, it's our pleasure, and I really want to say on behalf of our entire congregation, we're not a large mega church, but our members are very concerned and interested in the education of our students in our community. And I'm joined this evening by my wife, who, parenthetically, I should add, was a Girl Scout for a number of years. So the ceremony and the 3 young ladies that we honored a few moments ago really resonated with her. But again, this is the 12th year, and we are dedicated towards doing it, even during the pandemic, and even with people us, losing people in the congregation and so on. It was still a commitment of ours to support this school district and all of the wonderful work that you are doing. And we do look forward to supporting you next year for our 13th year. All right, thank you.
get another picture up from tonight. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we have, we're moving on to some other important matters, but we have a long meeting ahead, so feel free. You don't have to stay for the entirety. You can head out now if you like, and the girls as well.
Thank you again.
Yes, please. Don't feel bad. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. So our district has been a bevy of construction activity over the summer, and we continue with that construction activity to date, and probably through most of the year. We've got a lot of projects going on. Our facilities department and committee have been very busy, and around this time of year, we always like to get an update from Dr. Senimore and our facilities director, Dennis Martin, to tell us about all the wonderful projects that are going on inside the district, some of which are being done by external contractors through our capital projects fund, and others that are being done in-house. And that in-house work is incredibly impressive and can match and maybe even exceed in times the work by the external contractors. And I think you probably, if you're in the buildings, you've seen some of this work that has gone on this year. Particularly Stimson seemed to be the biggest recipient of this year's construction work, and the work there really is phenomenal and has really improved that building. I think Mr. Duggan agrees, right? Including rooms 315 and 316, which are probably two of the more spectacular rooms you're going to see in any middle school on the island. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Senimore to give us the facilities project update, and then following that, some remaining slides will be covered by Superintendent Dr. D'Elia, who will cover the safety projects.
Good evening, everyone. Raise your hand if you have the clicker. Thomas, you have the clicker? So I'll give you the signal, all right? All right, so good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'll give you... What did Carol Burnett used to do? She used to do the ear. How many people know that reference to Carol? Please raise your hand. You know that. If audience at home, please raise your hand that you know that reference. Okay. So tonight we're celebrating and recognizing a lot of things. It's truly been an outstanding start to the school year. We're very, very excited. And right now I have the honor and privilege of following our scouts and our local church. Later on, we'll have another recognition for another wonderful donation. But I have the honor and privilege right now of sharing with you some of the great work, as Mr. Ciapetta said, that's been done in the district, both internally and externally. I'm joined in the audience with our supervisor of facilities, Mr. Dennis Martin. We want to give the crowd a wave, and our architect and engineer from H2M, Mr. Saverio Fiora. Thank you both for all that you do. So if I can get to the first slide, please. All right. So teamwork makes the dream work, and South Huntington, this is a hallmark. We have an incredibly active and committed facilities committee chaired by Mr. Ciapetta. We have numerous other board members on there, a number of members throughout our administration. And when we go site to site, you know, we include the building principal, and tremendous amount of work was being done. We're just very appreciative of this. And, you know, as a school district, our focus is on student learning. But we know that students can't learn, our teachers can't teach, our support staff can't support, our administration can't lead if the environment is not conducive. And this is how we create that conducive environment for student learning, for instructional practice, by the maintenance and upkeep and beautification of our facilities. So let's start with the in-house work. And the first slide is actually right down the hall, a wonderful renovation by our own facilities personnel in the personnel office. This was a generation or two or three, you know, in the works. You know, a personnel office is oftentimes the very first impression that a potential candidate, a new hire has, and it has to be properly, you know, organized to make that good impression, to have the various functions. And we finally have ourselves a 21st century personnel office. And I know Mr. Smith is very appreciative, and on behalf of him and his his colleagues in the personnel office. We thank our facilities department for an outstanding job there. So currently under construction, right next door to that is the boardroom, a conference room. This room is going to be updated. It'll have state-of-the-art equipment in there. We want to celebrate the history of South Huntington in this room, but we also want it to be a place for professional development as well. And we're very excited, and the groundbreaking has occurred, and we're anticipating in the coming month or so a new beautiful conference room right down the hall.
And even better, it's a grant-funded project.
Yes, that's an excellent point. Grant funded, absolutely. Here's just a sample of some of the restoration beautification work that our facilities department has done around the district. This is just one sample from a Maplewood classroom. Our facilities team, maintenance workers, custodians, certainly groundskeepers as well, they're very skilled. And here's an example of the skilled carpentry and painting that we're able to do with our in-house teams. Something that is very important to this district, to our facilities committee, is to make sure that across the district we have the most appropriate, respectful, spacious areas for privacy, especially for staff, especially for the new mothers. And so here's an example of a privacy station in Walt Whitman that is nearing completion, and this is an initiative near and dear to us that is being done with tremendous work in-house by our facilities department. I love terrazzo. I'm old school. I love terrazzo. There's nothing like a restoration of a terrazzo floor, even if it's green, like in the pack. But we'll get to that down the line. So I know the focus has been on Stimson a lot. Mr. Duggan insisted upon hire that he was only going to accept the job if Stimson was to the front of the list. But here's an example of something that our facility supervisor, Mr. Martin, brought to this district, a new technique which will end up saving money. It'll end up being, after the initial process is done, it'll be easier to maintain. You can see your reflection. You can shave off that. You could eat off that. Look at that beautiful floor at Stimson. When you leave, we've already begun work in JKAO as well in terms of this area. Silas Wood has recently been done, and Mr. Martin, one of our head custodians at Stimson, Mr. Betts, they're training our staff to be able to make all our floors, all our terrazzo look like that throughout the district. All right, so now we're going to shift gears into some of the capital projects that involves our architects and engineers and some of our outside contractors. Instruction is an important focus, so you're going to see a lot of instructional spaces getting some significant state-of-the-art upgrades. Certainly at Walt Whitman, where we offer an extensive amount of programs and areas, a lot of great work by our curriculum department, our curriculum council, certainly our departmental building administration to bring these programs forward. And here you have a state-of-the-art DNA cyber lab. Program has already been up and running for a number of years, and now they have the facility where they're down to a little list of small items, but you could see the difference between wires coming down from the wall, very old school looking, and really a state-of-the-art facility that is really an envy to other high schools, public and private, throughout the island. Back to Stimson. So the science labs, was an area that going back to the Welcome Back Carter days, so we needed to bring them up to speed. We're a district that puts STEM initiatives at the forefront, science, technology, and so we need to make sure that our facilities match those programs and meet the needs for our students in the year 2022 and beyond. As Mr. Ciapetta spoke earlier with regards to rooms 315 and 316, some of you may be aware that at Walt Whitman High School, we have an incredible area for our life skills students. That there are two rooms. One is an apartment, and one is an area where they learn all kinds of various vocational skills. So what we did through our facilities committee is we created a space, we renovated a space in the middle school that now will have this feeder program for our special education life skills students, where we basically took the kind of the best pieces of both of those components into this space. It's an incredible space, and it just speaks volumes to our commitment to meet the learning needs of all of our students. Very proud.
Yeah, I mean, the picture doesn't even do the room justice. I mean, this room is spectacular. And this was an enormously difficult construction project because you had the tiered floors going down, and they had to excavate the entire room and the entire floor. And the facilities committee had seen the before, and to see it turn into this is really, really spectacular. Thank you.
Absolutely. And the room adjacent to that, which similar in terms of the pitch, and as you may be aware that thanks to an effort of our Board of Education, who a number of years ago went to a school boards conference, they discovered something called an anatomage virtual dissection table. They brought this idea back to the district. Fast forward several years, we have a renovated form in the high school where we have 3 of these, and now we have one in a dedicated room, 316. Again, this room, 315, the envy of the middle school world. It's an incredible area, this renovated forum-like area where we have this virtual dissection table for our middle school students to utilize, enhance our program, and have a nice feeder into the high school. Library media, makerspace, another tremendous focus for our district. You know, the idea of STEAM and STREAM and STEM, you know, kind of has its grassroots at the 6th grade level in this district at Silas Wood. A beautiful renovation of the space. You see the library area with a tremendous volume of books, and then to the space to the right, this makerspace area, a fully staffed, and the program is up and running. We're very proud, incredible work done in this area, and you're bringing the best of all worlds. You're bringing the old school love of print literature and high tech and hands-on learning. So for our athletics, out at the memorial site that the district owns, in the back, we have athletic fields, and a couple years ago, we built a softball field, and we recently built a baseball field, and now we're in the process of adding certain upgrades like a batting cage. Right now, that's a softball batting cage. Soon we'll be building a baseball batting cage as well. It's really turned into a wonderful field of dreams for both of our softball and baseball programs. We're very excited for that. For those of you who may remember, we used to own the teen center across the street from the high school, right in front of the assisted living, and that building was sold. But you know, a couple of years prior, we had invested in this wonderful storage garage area for our maintenance and grounds, and we wanted to keep it. We wanted to keep it. So what was very cool, and I was there to watch this process, is we needed to lift it and transport it to the back of Walt Whitman. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, is when they finally lifted it and put it on this trailer, there was one guy with a big yellow remote control, I kid you not, driving this thing out of the teen center parking lot, up the long parking lot, and around the back at Walt Whitman. And you'll see the nice new home it has to the right. This is in the back student parking lot area, in the back by the cafeteria. An incredible process, but a wonderful investment that was able to be maintained, a perfect location, and just incredible just to see modern technology and engineering and how they were able to do that. Very cool. Coming soon, if you noticed, the adjacent park here at JKAO, there's work is being done there. The picnic area is up and running, and the bocce ball court is being built. We have a little sidewalk. Though don't worry, the stream is still there. Don't worry, the hill for the sleighing is still there. Don't worry, Ray will be out there to wave at you, and we're very excited. That should be completed in the coming weeks and months.
So people speaking about it on social media, they were excited about the bocce, but then they asked for shuffleboard as well. I'm like,
safety, security, paramount. If our, just like the upkeep of our buildings, if our students and staff aren't safe, then learning and teaching can't occur. This district has always been committed to safety and security enhancements. And these two projects are nearing completion. You have what they call security vestibules, where you have the double door entrance and a person to check in the middle. So at Oakwood and at Countrywood, the two primary schools, these two are nearing completion, and obviously the remaining schools are going to get work done as well, including down the line this building, JKAO. And that is actually a perfect segue. And once again, I thank our facilities department, maintenance, grounds, custodians. We thank H2M. We thank the facilities committee and our community each year who supports these endeavors through the budget process. Now I'm going to take this baton and hand it off to our superintendent, Dr. D'Elia.
Thank you. Well, Dr. D'Elia is getting set. I want to thank Dr. Senimore for that great presentation. These projects, I think, improve our district dramatically, and we really believe that education and curriculum and the learning spaces are very closely tied together, and it helps drive our academic success, and that's very important. These projects take a long time to do, though. You're seeing a finished product, and generally it's like a 3 to 4 year timeline for these things. It starts with an idea, then we have architectural plans, then we have to find the funding, which is always a challenge, then we have to begin the construction work, and then complete the work. And it takes a lot of hours, a lot of time with people here, including the facilities committee. So I'd like to thank also our facilities committee members, Ms. Erin Meyer and Ms. Linda LeCarre, Vice President of the board, for going to these marathon meetings that go a couple hours at least each time, as well as the board for authorizing the funding for these things. Dr. D'Elia.
Thank you. Dr. Senimore, is this the signal the same one they're given not to pitch to Aaron Judge? Is that the one they're saying not to pitch to Judge? Is the same signal? Okay, I'll just check. All right. One of the most important things that we talk about, especially when I'm meeting with superintendents from Suffolk County, is about safety. We have an obligation as a school district that everybody comes to school safe and returns home safe. That is our number one responsibility. Number two is learning, and I feel very comfortable in saying that. This district, this Board of Education, takes a lot of pride in making sure that our security and the safety of everyone is paramount. Evidence this summer was we hired a new director of security for South Huntington, Mr. Richard Kallstrom, and I could tell you in 1 month, a little over a month, he knows every building in and out. He's been working very closely with building administration and has a pretty good feel of where we are so far. But we're always looking to get better, stronger, and improve what we have here. And I know Dr. Senimore spoke about the security vestibules that will be in all the buildings. We are looking to move forward with a keyless door entry system for all 7 schools. Exterior doors, obviously staff, students have to come in and out of those doors, but during school day, those doors have to be locked at all times. And with this new keyless system, entry system, that we'll be able to see, if there's a door that's remaining open. Numerous people will be able to notice that, and that's important. We added some high-resolution cameras. We upgraded our software, and we also have an agreement with the 2nd Precinct. They have access to our cameras in case of an emergency, and it's really for an active shooter situation. They have their eyes ready to go right into all the classrooms, into the building, and I think that's very important. We beginning our upgrades over at Whitman and at Stimson regarding the PA system. The panic devices, we currently have an alert system that we're reviewing and making sure it's working to the best of its ability. We also have the Rave app that is on your phone, and basically we've offered it to all administration has it, all staff has the option to have it, and many have taken on the option of putting it on their phone, where it really gives them one-button access to contact emergency services. We are very fortunate that Senator Gorin and Steve Stern were able to get us $300,000 to put a new security guard booth over at the high school. I know that was part of the bond we talked about originally, but now we have funding for it through their grant, so we're super appreciative of their efforts. We've been working very closely with law enforcement in Suffolk County. We actually had the opportunity, Mr. Rodney Harrison, Commissioner of Suffolk County Police, did come to South Huntington and met with administration, and we had a great conversation talking about collaboration, working together. And also we raised our hand and said, anytime we can do a tabletop exercise here in South Huntington, please sign us up, because I think that experience would be great. It's not with students, it's with staff, and gives us a good understanding, God forbid we ever have to be involved in a situation that requires us to be at a moment's notice ready to go. Also, what can we do, what other considerations can we have for security? And I know numerous districts around the island have armed security. Now, that's something that, can be considered by the board, and, it's a sizable, consideration. And, many districts have it, some don't necessarily, have it public, but, we are a super transparent place here, and something for the board to consider.
Thank you, Dr. DeLeo. All right, as you can see, we're doing everything in our power to prevent any tragedy from happening in our district. That's been our #1 focus over the past several months. And in that regard, I do want to be fully transparent in order of for transparency purposes, but also to prevent any rumors, that do tend to get out there on social media. We are looking at armed security. In fact, there is a bid that is being put in the newspapers as we speak. It should appear in tomorrow's newspaper, in Newsday, that would seek bids for private armed security in the district. Go over a couple of specifics of the bid. As I said, no decision has been made yet, but in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, we are exploring it, and I do anticipate that the board will have a more full and robust discussion on this at some point in the near future. It is for private armed security. There would be a total of 9 guards, 1 guard at each building, except for Walden High School, where there would be 2 armed guards. The bid is written so that the armed guards would be stationed outside the buildings. So that's very important. Outside the buildings, I'll say it again so it doesn't get misconstrued. They would not go inside the buildings unless there was a need for them, such as an emergency where they had to respond to it, an active shooter. The vendor will have to make guards available for not only during school hours, also extracurricular events at the district's request. Those might include but not exclusively, sporting events, concerts, award ceremonies, graduation certainly, and the like. The vendor that we're requesting must provide the guards with active armed licenses, as well as potentially military or law enforcement experience, and particularly we're looking for tactical training. They have to have a minimum of biannual active school tactical training, drug screening for all guards. Each guard would be assigned with the approval of the superintendent of schools. They have to understand that strict confidentiality is incredibly important, and the purpose obviously is to protect the buildings from unlawful entry. So the process is that bid is in place. I think it's for 30 days, I think.
Yes,
is that correct?
30 days.
30 days, people have to submit. That we're going down this path doesn't mean that we're actually going to get there. We don't know the quality of the proposals that we'll get or the cost, because we don't, we have to budget for that obviously, and it's not going to be an insubstantial cost. I'll say that we're expecting it to be a lot of money, but we are exploring this, and I think the board feels that it's important to explore all avenues, and that there's no price on the safety and security of our students and staff. So that's currently where we are, and once again, to summarize, it would be for 9 guards during the school day and additional guards at night as needed for large events. 2 guards at Walden High School, 1 guard at each of the remaining buildings, as well as, and they would be stationed outside the school buildings, outside. They would not be inside the school buildings. And that is something very important to know, and it was based on our discussions and our recommendation with our new school safety director, Mr. Kallstrom. So that's currently where we are at this point in time. Okay. All right. With that said, we will go into our business agenda. Take a motion to adopt the agenda. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Item C through F, the minutes, financial items, and bills require one resolution for adoption. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Any questions on items C through F? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. We have a number of new business items. We'll start off with new business item number 1 is the development of a professional development plan. Motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Dr. Murphy?
Yes, so we are. Thank you. I'm missing the window. What we are required to do is every 3 years have a professional development plan created that outlines how we are going to provide mentorship to our new teachers, as well as some of the requirements that are set for us through the Office of Curriculum and Instruction to vet new programs and activities. So we had our curriculum council go through this. We also had a group of teachers and parents also go through our professional development plan, and they approved what's in front of you, pretty much outlining what our expectations are for the next 3 years.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Murphy. Board have any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to new business item number 2 is the approval of a comprehensive long-range study plan to be provided by BOCES. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr. DeLeo.
Yes, about 9 years ago, we had our last study through BOCES to do an enrollment and demographic study. So I think it's my recommendation is almost 10 years later that I think we should engage in a new one, and it will give us some very vital information that will help us for long-range planning in the areas of finance and also academics. So I'm recommending to move forward with a study.
And this is aidable, it looks like? Or?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So it has a cost of $15,000 and it's aidable. I think they're supposed to get this done in 3 months. I actually found in my records when I was looking this morning the last report that we had, and it was from 2013, and it was pretty good. They really analyze birth trends in the district, and they give you kind of an expectation for the next 10 years, and it was pretty accurate. So, Board have any questions on this one? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, great. Moving on to new business item number 3 is approval of a donation. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Dr. Senimore.
I can barely contain myself. I am so thrilled and appreciative on behalf of our music and arts department, which includes theater and dance, our marching band, that tonight for the board's consideration and approval, we have a robust donation from the Lawrence W. Levine Foundation for over $30,000 to go both towards our theater program and the PAC in terms of some significant lighting technology, as well as instruments and equipment and parts for our marching band program, which has already had back-to-back excellent competitions, placing second both times, and a very special person within our community. Whose daughter is a recent graduate, and experienced these various programs with the band and the theater and the dance. Ms. Leslie Logue has been a big facilitator in helping to bring the Lawrence Foundation donation to the district, and this was months and months of legwork. Certainly want to thank our marching band and theater directors for their help. And then at the 11th hour, we had to make sure we were in compliance with the foundation's guidelines in terms of 501c, and then enter Ms. Busey and Chef to provide that next step of facilitation to help realize this donation. Again, we are so appreciative to the Lawrence Levine Foundation. This is an outstanding donation that'll be put towards tremendous use. From the bottom of all of our hearts, thank you so much. And I implore the board to accept this donation.
Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you to Ms. Leslie Logue, as well as the Lawrence Levine Foundation. We're very excited. It's a very generous donation. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Item number 4 is the approval of an amended contract between the South Huntington Union Free School District and the Huntington Ymca. The board previously approved an original agreement between the two entities. Motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Dr. Murphy, what did we change?
Yeah, so. All right, so, it's not, all right, so, what was changed was the original agreement was only for one pool. So we were able to expand our opportunities. We currently combine with Harbor Fields and Huntington. The two pools allow us to be able to put more students in the pool, more prep work for their meets. So we thought it was something that was needed for our swim team. The increase was very minimal. It came to a cost of $6,000 for both seasons, boys and girls.
Okay, great. Board, have any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new item business 5, approval of risk assessment and a corrective action plan. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Mr. Bronson, you want to start off, and then Dr. Senimore can supplement anything?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So at the last audit committee meeting, our auditors, Naraki and Smith, went through the risk assessment that was part of your board packet. As you'll see in there, they covered 92 different items as far as controls. The great news is the district came out as a low risk in all of those areas. So that was a wonderful result that we had. There are a couple of recommended areas for improvement. Many of those have been completed already, and those that have not been completed are in the works. So overall, it's an excellent report. And again, I thank the audit committee and Dr. Santamar. I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add before we put it before the board.
That was excellent, Mr. Bronson, and just that the entire business office and all of our satellite functions, we look at this as every time we have these audits, whether it's this internal or the subsequent external, as a professional development opportunity, an opportunity to review and enhance process, and we appreciate the thoroughness of the audit committee to review the work done by Naraki.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson and Dr. Senimore. This is Mr. Bronson is speaking as the audit committee chair, and we thank him for his good work on that, which shows based on the risk assessment report. Any questions from the board? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, new business item number 5 is approved. Moving on to new business item number 6 is the declaration of certain obsolete IT equipment. Is there a motion? Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Ms. LaCara. Dr. Fulton, welcome.
Thank you. The items listed on the agenda tonight are items that are not otherwise able to be repurposed anywhere else. They range everywhere from the original access points the district had to printers to scanners. If we ever find the instance where we can reuse IT equipment, we do, but in this case, these items are obsolete.
And do we donate them or sell them, or they go in the garbage?
We donate them, and a company comes and picks them up. We actually have 2 companies that pick them up. One of them actually gives us a few credits in our account, so we can use those credits to repair items later on.
And board, have any questions for Dr. Fulton?
Thanks for the authority.
All in favor? Any opposed? And we welcome Dr. Fulton to our dais. Moving on to new business item number 7 is the approval of data and privacy agreements. Is there a motion? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr. Steele.
Yes,
Oh,
over here.
look the wrong way. We're shifting everybody around this year, so.
It's all good. We have listed tonight a few digital education programs in addition to 2 photography agencies that we use, and Panorama Education, which is the company that helps us administer our SEL survey and collects data from the survey. And they've, of course, agreed to keep our students' information secure.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Steele? All in favor? Any opposed? New business item number 7 is adopted. Moving on to new business item number 8 is the approval of an agreement between the South Huntington School District and Varsity Spirit. Motion. Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Dr. Senimore.
Thank you. This event, this tournament that is going to be held in February, has become the hallmark of our competition dance program here in South Huntington. It's an opportunity to showcase on our home court the outstanding program that we have. And the beauty of it is that the proceeds help to offset cost for the feeder program at Stimson.
That's great. The event will be on Sunday, February 5th, 2023. Always a big crowd for this. So, good, thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. Item number 9 is the resolution to increase the 2022-2023 school budget. Is there a motion? Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson. This is a good increase, not a bad increase. We haven't budgeted improperly. It's actually the result of 2 property sales. Dr. Centimore?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta, and thank you to the community for approving the propositions back in May as part of the budget approval process as well. Over the summer, we had 2 closings on the property, the central field, where the softball program used to be, as well as the old library at 2 Melville Road. And those proceeds are now being put, with this approval tonight, into our transfer to capital for the projects that they were intended for.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Centimore. And the resolution reads, the resolve the Board of Education authorizes an increase to the 2022-2023 budget in the amount of $2,537,793.22 for the deconstruction of elementary portable classrooms and the construction of an elementary library media stream center. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, great, thank you. Moving on to new business item number 10, approval of the tax levy for the 2022-2023 school year. Motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. There's many steps and a lot of different terminology. The tax levy is approved by the voters back in the May vote, not the budget. The budget is separate. We approve the levy, which is the amount of money that we raise from the property tax payers. That levy amount is obviously a lot less than the total budget because we're supplemented with other revenue, including state aid that makes up that. And now the third piece of the equation is to set the tax rate, and the tax rate varies from the tax levy based on assessed valuation. And we have some very good news. Dr. Centimore?
So each year, as part of the budget development process, school districts have to provide a best guess to the community as what the tax rate will be, what will be their share of the tax levy. And so what we do is we look at trends over recent years, and then we try to be a little bit conservative so that comes the fall, when the town gives us the actual assessed valuation, it's in the favor of the taxpayer. And obviously when you throw in, pandemic conditions, it can make those guesstimates a little bit challenging. My team in the business office did a pretty good job in guesstimating, but again, in the favor of the taxpayer, where the average, assessed valuation per 1,000 will be about a $20 savings. So some people might save 3 times that, or whatever their house is assessed at, in favor of the taxpayer.
Yeah, a negative tax rate. I haven't seen that before. Good, when we can offer it, we can. Not always, obviously, not always in that position, but this year we could. Any questions on that? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you, Dr. Centimore. Moving on to new business, item number 11 is an agreement with the United States, not United States, the United Public Service Employees Union regarding an amendment to the collective bargaining agreement. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, second. Mr. Joyner. This matter has been discussed in an executive session before. It is a clarification to the collective bargaining agreement with UPSU. Dr. Centimore, want to add anything else? Yep. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to new business, item number 12, we now begin a series of field trip requests. The first is an overnight field trip for the girls varsity basketball team to Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania. Motion. Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, this is a trip that will allow us to have our students be able to do a college visit. We'll do some on-site training for basketball skills as well as an actual game. It's something that will be great. Mr. Barth had thought this was something that was great for our team as well as the coaches, so we wanted to endorse and request the board's permission.
Great. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, great. Moving on to new business item number 12. Now it's an out-of-state field trip request. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. There's an out-of-state field trip request to the Poconos with the Universal Cheerleaders Association. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, in order for our students to attend the national competition, which is usually in Walt Disney World, Florida, they have to go to one of the regional compositions in place. This is one of the ones that they normally do, the Poconos. So in order to be able to get to the national tournament, they must place and participate in this one in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Any questions? Any opposed? Oh, excuse me, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. There are 23 students and 2 chaperones estimated to go on that. Moving on to new business item 14 is the last of our trips. Approval for an out-of-state field trip to New Jersey for Six Flags physics class. Motion. Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Jordan. Dr. Murphy?
Yes, it's nice that we have like 3 trips. COVID's definitely, we're doing some different trips now. This one is an annual trip that we've been doing with our physics classes over the last couple of years. This is where our physics classes go and do physics lab and experiments within Great Adventure while riding the roller coasters and having a good time. I believe it's for a number of buses. It's about 100 students, 150 students in total, and this will be done in the spring to early summer months before the school year ends.
Okay. Great. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business item 15 is the recommendations for the placement of students by the committees on special education and preschool special education and many dates listed. All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Moving on to, oh, sorry, I don't think I had a first and a second on that, right? Sorry, let's go back. Do we have the first? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Not a problem. Moving on to, this is not a resolution, a discussion of potential elementary report card changes. Interesting. Dr. Steele, would you like to let us know what's going on?
Sure. Thank you, Thomas. Thomas has it's a very short presentation that we shared with Curriculum Council last week. So we're looking this year to revise our report card, our elementary report card for the 2023-2024 school year. That would be next year. And this is based on feedback that we received from teachers, in addition to the fact that the next generation learning standards are now fully implemented. So our report card that we're using now I think it was about 10 years old. So we want to make sure that our report cards remain aligned with New York State expectations. We also, not yet. I'll give you I'll do the signal. I'll do the signal, the ear. I know Carol Burnett. We also want to ensure that as we make these changes and that we're creating a standards-based report card, that we remain conscious of the fact that our report cards need to be indicate clearly student progress that's able to be understood by all, by teachers, by parents. A lot of times we get caught up in the lingo, the education lingo, but we're going to involve parents in this process so that we get their feedback in what they're looking for in the report card as well. Also, we started to look, this led to a discussion on time frames. Right now we work with quarters, and we started to discuss ways to look ways to give teachers more of an opportunity to have consecutive teaching time. The elementary teachers are responsible for teaching it all. And over the last few years or so, their plates have become quite full, with the addition of technology, social emotional learning, certain health requirements. So by looking for ways to give them more teaching time in between marking periods, it will give them more time to infuse all of these requirements. So you got to look at me, Thomas. So this led to a discussion on trimesters and what trimesters could do for the elementary report card. So what it can do is increase that instructional time, consecutive time in between formal grading for teachers to focus in on specific skills and concepts while at the same time giving more time to gather and analyze data between formal grading times. So by the time the teachers are officially sitting down for an official parent-teacher conference, they will have more information that has been gathered in between those marking periods to create a clearer picture of the child's learning and social emotional growth. This will also give students more time in between the formal grading to meet with success. That will increase their self-esteem, improve their self-esteem, as well as their social emotional well-being as well. And it will provide opportunities for teachers, students, and parents to build relationships, especially for the kindergartners that come in. The first few weeks of school, sometimes the first month, depending on how many holidays we have, is really about learning school and gathering that data. But adding on more teaching time will allow teachers more time to work on skills and concepts before they submit a final grade for that marking period. Okay, Thomas.
What would how would they be divided, the trimesters?
That's going to be in the last slide.
Oh,
So
sorry.
we're almost there.
Okay, right.
We will be able to maintain 2 parent-teacher conferences, but with going to trimesters, the conferences will be more aligned with when the actual report cards are posted. So right now, our final report card in May falls in between the quarters, which really doesn't align with when the reports are going home. So with trimesters, we can have one in December when a report card is posted and another one in March when a report card is actually posted. We know in the past that there were some concerns about moving to trimesters, mostly because of the communication with parents. And we feel that now we are in such a place where there's so many avenues for communication, and our teachers do an amazing job with keeping parents informed. Between Google Classroom, Parent Square, email, virtual meetings have all become enhanced over the past few years. There's ample opportunity for communication. And with the assistance of our Dr. Fulton and Dr. Rice, with the enhancements made to Infinite Campus. The parent portal now not only provides reports and attendance, but we also have student learning profiles available for parents on the portal, which gives parents updated information on students' reading levels, math assessments that are given throughout the year, as well as iReady reports, New York State assessments, NICE SLAT scores. And those reports are updated by the teacher as these assessments are given. And then as a district, we will continue to communicate with families and let them know when certain reports become available to them on the portal. So here's what it would look like. Quarters, what we use right now, as opposed to trimesters. We use this year's calendar using the dates that that we're using right now. Of course, this varies depending on the year and holidays. But you can see with quarters and 4 times a year, how many number of consecutive instructional days we have, as opposed to if we were to go to trimesters. You would get that much more time of teaching in between marking periods to gather that valuable data. And on the bottom is where the conferences would align. So right now we have November, December, which does align with when report cards are posted, but the second one is not until May, which you can see falls kind of in between that April and June report. Where if we would go to trimesters, December would align with when the November report goes out, and March would align directly with when the March report goes out. And as always, at the end of the year, there's always opportunities for discussions with teachers and parents about the upcoming year, any concerns you might have. So that would always remain in place at any given time, So we have put together a committee now which consists of 22 teachers from all of our elementary programs, gen ed, special ed, dual language, E&L, technology, reading, math, with the idea of breaking everybody into subcommittees so they can focus on the specific grade levels. And in addition, we'll be reaching out to the PTAs in each building to ask for parent volunteers to come sit on the committee to give us some valuable feedback.
What would be the time frame for the completion of the report card?
We're looking to come to Curriculum Council by April. If we can get it in earlier, we can, but by April the latest. And then after Curriculum Council, come back to the Board of Education.
Okay, great. So sometime then I guess you'll give us another update on that. First, thank you for the report. It was very well done. Ms. LeCarrot, this has been reviewed by Curriculum Council?
Yes.
And what was the council's recommendation?
Yes, we recommend it.
Okay. What does the rest of the board think? Good. Everyone want to give them the go-ahead? Okay, great. Thank you, and we'll schedule a presentation. Let me know when you've got the report card completed. We'll schedule another presentation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Bronson. You're excused. All right. Moving on to new business item number 17, also not a resolution, a discussion of some resolutions that were submitted by the New York State School Boards Association. The annual convention of the New York State School Board Association is coming up on October 17th, and as part of that convention, there is a business meeting where resolutions are discussed and adopted or not adopted, and those resolutions become part of the New York State School Boards Association's platform for the year. As part of the process, the Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association Legislative Committee reviews them, and then their Executive Committee reviews them as well, and then they go to the full membership of the Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association, which is actually happening on, I believe it's happening tonight. We usually go to it, but it conflicts with a board meeting. There were a lot of interesting resolutions this year, so I thought I would actually run through a couple of them. Sometimes we don't do it because they're kind of boring, the resolutions, but honestly. But this one, they were quite consequential, and some of them had quite a bit of debate. One of them was a sunsetting resolution. That means, I think this is the last time it would be put up there. New York State School Boards Association put this one forward. It was to support reforming the 30/20A system, so as to put a cap on the length of time that a disciplined teacher would be paid while the 30/20A proceeding is pending. And I think the rationale was that to move these proceedings forward in a little more expeditious manner. That was recommended by the Executive Committee. Resolution 6 was submitted by the East Meadow School Board Association, and just so people know, there were 43 of the resolutions. I'm just selecting the ones that I think were of note. Save 2 hours of our time. Resolution 6, though, was to support a revise the transportation statutes. Right now, we have district limits, so if you're outside of or within the district limits, you can get transportation, but if you're too close, you wouldn't be entitled to transportation. This resolution would authorize boards to provide transportation to people and students who fall outside the voter-approved limits, as long as there's no cost to the district. It was recommended by the Executive Committee. My opinion was to not support it, actually. I was opposed to it because I thought it would create confusion and chaos for the districts, because to then select on an ad hoc basis who is going to get this additional transportation, and I don't think there's a real way to pick between it, and even though it might be no cost, it may result in unfairness with certain people being picked up and certain people not getting transportation. I mean, we have voter-approved limits for a reason, and if we wanted to change those limits, we certainly could. Nobody agreed with me, though. So, Resolution 8 was put forward by the Ymca School Board, and they were resolved that the New York State School Board Association supports universal pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds statewide. This was recommended as amended, just for language reasons, but I was actually opposed to this one as well as some of my colleagues. We thought maybe 3- and 3-year-olds was pushing it a little bit, but plus, let's work on getting 4-year-olds right now, but it was recommended. Resolution 9 was put forward by the Sayville and Sachem school boards. They were recommending to the State Education Department and the Commissioner to have a mandatory prerequisite before a district could hire a licensed security guard, that said individual has to take a separate course with training and knowledge of rules applicable to schools. This resolution was recommended by the Executive Committee. I was actually opposed to it as well, because I thought that an individual school district could make that determination whether they want them training or could train them themselves. Usually school boards fight against additional restrictions on their authority, so why would we want to restrict ourselves? But I was outvoted. Item 11, this is supported. Everyone was in support of this. It was put forward by the Orleans and Niagara BOCES Board of Education, and it would change the BOCES board vote, which is a good idea. Right now, we're required to have a meeting on the particular date that BOCES votes, and we must have a board meeting on that date. This would instead give us the freedom to choose any board meeting date between April 16th and April 30th to hold that, so it gives a little more flexibility to the boards. That was recommended. New business item number 16 is the next one, put forth by the Beacon School Board, and it was resolved that New York State School Board Association supports legislation at the state level. This one got a lot of discussion, to allow for school board members to receive a stipend for their work as a trustee, which was interesting. And I think they put this forward because there's some districts where I think actually they get paid if they're the city school district. School districts, as you know, service as volunteer, at least in this state. Elsewhere in other states, it's actually very competitive elections, and they are compensated quite well. Like in Florida, the school board trustee is paid the highest of any elected official. Yeah, so this one was wrong state. The executive committee did not recommend this. I actually did recommend it. I disagreed. I said I volunteer for plenty of time and I'm not looking for compensation, but I thought actually it would help because there are a lot of districts where people don't run for the Board of Education, they can't fill their seats, so it might increase competition or bring out some people that are willing, didn't think about it but are willing to do it. But more importantly, I think it kind of elevates the position a little bit. School board is, to me, an incredibly important elected position. Probably, I think, the most important one, but often they're not seen that way because it's seen as a volunteer, position. So I think it would raise the stature of the position a little bit. We discussed different ways you could do it. For example, like you could give a reduction to school board members on their taxes. I don't think that's fair at all because school board members vote to approve the budget, so that wouldn't be fair if they were getting a discount. But there are other ways you could do it. You could pay a stipend for meetings that you attend, or something that I actually put forth that I think is the fairest, like EMTs, you can get what's called a LOSAP, or Life of Service Program Award. It's kind of like a little pension where based on how long you serve and how much time you serve, you get a pension credit after you retire. So different ways to put forward. It was not recommended by the executive committee, but these things were recommended overall by the State School Board Association. Recommended Resolution 18 was interesting. It's put forth by the Fayetteville Manalus School Board to resolve that the New York State School Board Association support legislation to fully fund or reimburse school districts for tax exemptions for veterans. As you know, we vote to give veterans as well as other emergency service workers tax exemptions, which is an interesting process. The state legislator actually authorizes the exemption, but they don't approve it themselves. They require the local school district to vote on it, and we've adopted these routinely, though it results in an exemption for certain people, and that has to be picked up by other taxpayers. And I guess the thought is, while the school district is not out of pocket, we're just redistributing the tax payments. Somebody else is picking up for it. So I guess if we got reimbursed or fully funded for it, then the exemption of the discount for the veterans wouldn't cause the taxpayers to have to burden it. Resolution number 19 is put forth by the Fayetteville Manalus School Board Association. Resolved that the New York State School Board Association support legislation to fully reimburse districts for investments in electrical buses. And this one is quite controversial, as state law requires 100% electrical school buses by the year 2035. So your whole fleet would have to be electrical. And beginning in 2027, all new purchases will have to electric starting in 2027. And while this requires full reimbursement, the problem is the districts would have to outlay this money at the instant, and it's unclear how a district would afford that. Could not probably afford it through their regular operating budget, and would probably have to go out for a bond, a substantial one, if this law is not changed. So there was discussion as to reimbursement is great, but is 2035, and in particular starting in 2027, really practical, which is only 4 years away. The committee ultimately did recommend to support that. I did not, but item number 39 was probably the most controversial of them. Well, then there were a number of resolutions put forth by a number of districts: Massapequa, Carl Place, Sachem, and Locust Valley. They all seem to have a block of resolutions kind of responding to some of the issues that are in the press lately. with respect to religious issues or sex education issues or vaccination issues. Those were all not recommended. But then they put forth one as well regarding zoning, which was interesting. Resolve that the New York State School Boards Association oppose legislation that would eliminate the single occupancy zoning for localities. The legislation committee did not recommend this for adoption, but actually after a full discussion at the executive committee, they did recommend it, so they changed, the position changed of the full committee. And I think the legislative committee said, well, you know, school districts are getting outside their lane by opposing this legislation. Zoning is not a prerogative, that's the prerogative of towns. But I actually pointed out to them, well, in a prior resolution, we had a resolution to encourage additional gun restrictions. I said, so that's not necessarily our mission either. And I said, in fact, this has a more significant impact on school districts. And just to be clear, what the legislation would do is, in our areas where we live, it's mostly single-family dwellings. You can't have multifamily dwelling units on the properties that are in the town of Huntington. This would eliminate all single occupancy zoning. And it was actually put in last year's budget, so it is timely. And so there was discussion that obviously that would have a big impact on school districts, because if single-family dwelling was replaced with multifamily dwelling, that adds students. So that is something that a school district might want to weigh in on. And from time to time, throughout the island, construction projects and those contractors or developers always go to school districts to seek their input and support. So the committee actually supported that one at the discussion. And the last one that I want to talk about is actually also timely. There was an article today in yesterday's Wall Street Journal about it, and it was also the subject of a recent California law, and this was put forward by the Beacon School Board to resolve the New York State School Board Association support legislation at the state level to set limits on the start times for schools to be no earlier than 8 a.m. So that was an interesting one that seems to be gathering a little bit of momentum. The committee was opposed to it. They didn't have really, in my mind, a great rationale for it. I think there was discussions of athletics. I think they preferred to leave it on a district-by-district basis, though it's really impossible to do it on a district-by-district basis because some school districts then would be inconsistent with their times, and that might hurt them in athletics. But if you did it on a statewide basis, as California did, you might have better success. So, and there was a Wall Street Journal article that came out yesterday talking about starting times of schools, and particular high schools, saying that high schools start way too early, and it was science-based, talking about the fact that the circadian rhythm of adolescents change, and that adolescents are going through a lot of changes. They need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Nobody certainly gets that. That, you know, they have lots of homework, they're up late, and they have to get up early in the morning, and they're falling well short of that. And as their brains are developing, this can actually lead to depression and mental health issues. And so pushing the start back time would be consistent with that science and give them more time to sleep. So those were kind of the resolutions. I thought they were an interesting bunch this year, and a lot of lively discussion on them. Anyone have any questions? Great. All right, moving on to our final item of new business is the request for an impartial hearing officer for the board to appoint one. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. And this is to appoint an impartial hearing officer for a matter discussed in executive session. Is there a motion? Oh, sorry, we just had a motion. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, personnel schedules are listed. We have personnel schedules 4, 5, 9, 11, 15, 16, 19, 20, and 22. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Any questions on the personnel schedules? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, information and reports are listed. Committee reports. We have the Curriculum Council. Ms. LaCara, would you like to report on anything else?
Sure. What we did, we went over a variety of topics, as we just heard, with the elementary, looking at trimesters. Some of the other things we did is, I know we presented to the board our goals for curriculum instruction. We reviewed those goals with the Curriculum Council so that they can support us in achieving those goals. One of the things, we talked about some of the big things that we're pulling out or we're vetting through this year. Instructional rounds being one of them. We've been working with PLC Associates, bringing instructional rounds to all buildings. We've had a lot of positive feedback with our teachers that are participating in it, and we're looking to implement that at the second half of the school year. We talked about the presentation we're going to be providing on October 12th for a Regents and AP review, or grade review and score reviews, as well as our summer school numbers and how our students fared within the BOCES setting located at Stimson Middle School. Next month, obviously further discussions about trimesters, as well as the timeline for approval of new courses, as well as technology with the curriculum council.
Right. Thank you. Ms. LeCarre, anything else? Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Murphy. And you give us a preview or coming attraction for our next board meeting with our curriculum presentation on October 12th. Comments by board members? Ms. Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. I just want to congratulate all the buildings, the administration, and all the teaching staff on some really successful curriculum nights, back to school nights. It was so nice to see everybody there, the PTA representation, so many parents in the classrooms this year, which was wonderful. I had the pleasure and the opportunity to attend the 3rd and 5th grade curriculum nights at Maplewood, but I heard extremely positive feedback about all of the curriculum evenings, so I just wanted to provide a shout out there.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer, for sharing that. Other board members' comments? All right. Just wanted to mention myself. One, there was a recent news article, very important changes potentially coming to graduation requirements. The New York State appointed a 64-member panel, plenty of people on there, superintendents, teachers, parents, and others, no board members though, to a Blue Ribbon Commission to study graduation. There are Long Island representatives on there, 8 of them in fact, a couple superintendents. And the mission, according to State Commissioner Rosa, is to identify the skills and knowledge needed by high school graduates to succeed in the 21st century. And another focus will be to find equivalent pathways for diplomas for students struggling to pass the Regents exams. And I think then the question will be also whether to move away from the Regents exams. So this is a very significant potential change coming, and something that we will monitor. Comments by the superintendent, Dr. D'Elia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. We received some wonderful news today. The niche.com rankings came out for 2023, and very proud to say that South Huntington is the number 8 district in Suffolk County, and Walt Whitman High School, the number 5 high school in Suffolk County. So that is great. Last year, Walt Whitman High School was number 8, and South Huntington was number 10. So we are moving in the right direction, and I'd like to thank all the employees and staff and the board here in South Huntington, because the niche.com rankings isn't just on academics. It's a big piece, but it's also talking about the food, nutrition, facilities, all of that. And it's about the entire district. So we are super proud, and I know everybody up here wants to do even better. So we're happy with our ranking, but we're not satisfied until we can continue moving in that great direction. So it's a thank you to everybody in the community as well for the support. And also, speaking of great events, we have homecoming coming up October 7th. We started off with Carnival over at Whitman. We have our bonfire, we have our powder puff game, and then we have our football game Saturday night at 6. But before that, we have our parade at 4 o'clock. So last year, homecoming was so well attended that I know the word is out on the street, and we promise you, hopefully Mother Nature agrees, we won't let you down on October 7th and 8th. It's going to be a great weekend again, and we very much look forward to it. So great things coming up very shortly.
Thank you, Dr. D'Elia, for your report. Any other comments by board members? Okay, I'll open it up. Voice of the residents. Anyone like to address the board? Okay. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn. Ms. Meyer, seconded by Ms. Joyner. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we'll see you on October 12th. Thank you.